Hey everybody, it's Emily from Mindful Matters with Emily for your weekly dose of a pep talk, I guess. If you haven't checked out my Teachable and you're looking for even more content on how to work through trauma and to grow even further, definitely search me up. I have an awesome class called Inner Bliss through Self-Discovery that I just released, and I'm very excited about it. So today's topic, I kind of want to talk a little bit about victim mentality, victim mode, those kinds of phrases, and my thoughts on them, and what they mean to me as somebody who has been, in an abusive relationship with somebody who had no concept of human decency. Let's just say it that way. When I was in the beginning of my healing, for me, it was offensive to hear about victim mode and stuff like that, because it felt like I was being blamed for what was happening. It felt to me like, my ex was getting a pass because guess what? I was allowing this to happen. And it wasn't until later that I realized there was kind of some truth to the situation. Subconsciously, I was used to that treatment, and therefore I allowed it to go on a lot longer than I should have. So there was a good period of my life where I definitely was blaming everybody else for my problems. The thing about it is, yes, what happened to me happened. The treatment I received was awful. That wasn't my fault. That was not my fault. But stepping into my power was my responsibility. And once I was able to, and again, this is not saying that what happened to me was my fault, because it was not in any way. But once I stood up and decided to take my power back, I stopped blaming everybody else for why I was acting the way that I was acting. And I started to go inward to figure out why I was accepting this treatment, or why I was reacting the way that I was reacting to situations that other people, might not have reacted so seriously to. When you have complex PTSD or any kind of trauma-related illness, we'll call it that, it's devastating to your life sometimes. You might have a complete, what most people would consider overreaction, unintentionally, due to your injury. That's basically what it is. It is a brain injury. So I do believe, in regards to talking about victim mode, victim mentality, there is some truth behind it, but I do find it a harsh term. And I think that until people are ready to heal from whatever they experienced, they will continue to experience the same behavior in different people, the same patterns, and they will continue to blame other people rather than take control of the situation. So how did I take control? I started going to therapy in 2016, and I think that having another person who was there to listen openly to my experience and validate that what I was experiencing wasn't normal helped me to realize that, sorry, hair bothering me. My experiences were very real. My experiences were valid. The way I was feeling was valid. But it was my therapist who would constantly say, what can you do about it? What can you do about it? What can you do about it? And then it finally hit me like, I actually do have options here. And that kickstarted the whole thing of me finally getting out of my relationship that was not always physically abusive. There were a couple times, but the emotional and mental abuse that I went through, it's like mind-blowing. Like when I tell people what happened or some of the stories, they're like, Jesus, that's insane. It really was. You are in control of yourself, your actions, your healing. Once you can accept that, you know what, you can't make another person be a certain way, the only thing you have is how you react to the treatment that you're receiving. And that can be really hard to hear if you're in an abusive situation, because it does put responsibility on you as a person who can take the steps to make it stop. And I am totally aware that there are situations where people are in physical danger. And so they feel that they have no other choice but to stick with it. I would encourage you to reach out to your local women's shelter, friends, family, because more than likely, if you are in an abusive situation, you are being isolated. That was big for me. My ex had me convinced that my family hated me, nobody wanted anything to do with me, and I was so lucky that he put up with me. And it wasn't until I started reforming connections with the outside world that I found my voice and I found my power. What happened to you, or what is happening to you right now, if you are in an abusive situation, is not your fault. It is not. And the things that this person is saying to you, putting you down, making you feel bad about yourself, wearing away at you, that's a power move to make you stay, because you feel like nobody else is going to want you. And you also feel that you can't do it on your own. But let me tell you something. You can. Okay? You can. It took me a long time to realize that. I was okay alone. And once I was able to get to that point where I was alone and start to hear these other messages through YouTube and Facebook that I could heal and be happy and thrive, it's amazing. So I would, like I said, if you are in a situation right now where you are in an abusive relationship, emotionally, physically, I would encourage you to consider what you can do to change the situation, whether that be leaving, going to therapy with your partner, calling the police if needed, going to a women's shelter, reaching out to a friend who might be able to help, finding somebody to connect to on the internet like me that's been through a certain or a similar situation and can act as a guide or mentor. I hope this video helps. I know I kind of went off a little bit on a couple different rants. You know, in relation to victim mode, It's not a means for you to feel blamed. It's meant to help you wake up and see that if you shift your perspective and start figuring out your options, you may not be quite as stuck as you feel. And once you start feeling out those options and moving towards them, your life is going to change amazingly. I hope you have a great day.